what we're going to do is talk about using your blog posts as content marketing. So a simple blog post on its own is content. When you make it content marketing, all you're doing is adding a call to action, traditionally at the end of the blog post. Whether you've heard of Pareto's rule of 80-20, so you give 80% value to your reader and then the last 20% is the marketing bit, the call to action, where you ask them for something in return. Or if you're a Gary Vaynerchuk fan, you may have heard of his theory or read his book, Jab, 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 Right Hook. And it's the same thing, really. The jabs, you give some value, give some value, give some value. And then the right hook, you ask for somebody to return the favour by perhaps signing up to your mailing list, for example. That would be a really classic call to action. So in part 1 of this lesson, I'm going to show you how to structure that and give you a quick overview of where content marketing fits into a marketing funnel as a whole, because I think once you get your head around that, it just makes everything simpler and it all makes a lot more sense. And then in part 2 of this lesson, I'm going to talk about upcycling your content. So how do you get people to come and read your blog post? You'll share little snippets of it on Facebook, maybe as a post, maybe as a Facebook Live. Maybe you can make a little graphic and share that on Pinterest or Instagram. If you're a bit fancier and you want to podcast, there's so many different ways that you can get people to your blog post, and then you can get more eyes onto your call to action and hopefully more conversions too. So let's start with a general overview of where everything fits into a marketing funnel. And if you've heard that term, marketing funnel, and thought, oh, that's an industry buzzword, I don't know what that means, don't worry. Basically, the sales funnel is your customer's journey. So think about a funnel funneling water down into a bucket. At the bottom, the bucket, those are the customers who have paid, they've converted, they've become your paying clients. And on the way down, when they're in the funnel, in the middle of it, this is where you would call somebody a warm lead. So somebody is very much on their way to becoming a client, but they haven't reached the bucket yet. And then at the top of the funnel, where it's the widest, we refer to these people up here as your cold leads. So they're just sort of, they're being teased into the top of the funnel, but they haven't found their way down yet. So looking at this slide, a funnel is simply an upside down triangle. The widest part is at the top. It's upside down because your cold leads are going to be the biggest number of people. You could have hundreds and thousands of fans on various social media platforms that just have a vague idea of who you are and might become more interested one day. So they're cold leads. And you're not going to convert from cold leads straight to client. That doesn't happen. You need to warm them up first. So in order to warm somebody up, make them a warm lead, to bring them further down the funnel, you need to engage with them more. So you might funnel them down into your email list as a classic one. You might invite them to join you in a Facebook group so that you've got more interaction with them because of the algorithm on Facebook. They'll see more of you in a group. They'll also engage with you more. They'll feel safer to ask you questions because a group is a different environment to a page. When you've had several meaningful interactions and value exchanges with people, they get truly warm, and this is the point where they may then convert to be your client. If you happen to send out an email that has a product or service that appeals to them, the time's right for them, and they're warm to you, that's when they may buy from you. So that's essentially what a funnel is. It's the customer journey. So if we think about a blog post, I'm just going to recap briefly on the structure of a blog post and then talk about where that fits in the marketing funnel, because I think that's really important to understand. So your blog post is going to be 80% value and 20% maximum call to action. Often it's less. I mean, I think mine and also most of the ones that I read are more like 95% value and then 5% call to action. So don't feel like you have to do a big 20% if you don't need to. Certainly focus on the value. That's really where you're going to start to warm people up. So 80% value, that's the content of your blog post. So if you're writing a blog post that is top 3 tips to overcome procrastination, all of your top 3 tips, the whole thing, including the summary at the end, 80% value. And then additional to that, after you've summed up your blog post and you've shared all the wisdom you want to share, then you might put in your call to action. Now, a very traditional one would be opt into my email newsletter. And I've added there to get my free guide, because in this day and age, people don't just opt into email newsletters out of the goodness of their heart or just for the sake of it, because we are all bombarded with email. We don't want more emails, so you really do have to incentivize people to sign up these days. So a really simple, easy thing to do is to create a free guide. Just write a Word doc, publish it as a PDF, make it look nice, like a little miniature ebook, something like that. There are other things as well. It might not be opt into my email newsletter. It might be that the call to action is click here to join my Facebook group and get more support from me. So you might invite them, they might click through, become a member of your Facebook group, and then you can do, weekly, daily posts, whatever's appropriate, where you offer people support on whatever your area is, ask them questions, ask them what they need, interact with them more. So your warm audience can just as easily be an email list or a Facebook group, and some people will be in both, and that's fine. They're both equally pretty good places for you to warm up an audience and eventually convert some of those to clients. And it's good to have a choice as well, because not everybody will give you their email address. Some people will just flatly refuse. It doesn't mean they won't become clients someday. People have just got their quirks, so giving people options is brilliant. So where does your content marketing fit in the marketing funnel that we just described? So it sits in between the cold leads and the warm leads. It's the bridge between the two. It's how you pull somebody down from the very top of the funnel where they're cold and they're barely in there, into the middle of the funnel where they're warm and they're starting to come down towards the bucket at the bottom. So a typical journey might be: step 1, your Facebook fans read your blog because you've shared that blog on Facebook, and we're going to talk about that in part 2. Step number 2, some of those readers will see your call to action and will opt in to whatever that is. Maybe it's your email list. And then step 3, some of those people who've opted in will read the email, or the emails that you send over time, and warm up because they're enjoying your content. They're finding your emails valuable and useful. So they're enjoying being actively on your email list. And then over time, warm leads that keep seeing your email marketing may become your customers. So that's where it fits in the big picture of things. And I think that's really useful to know, because once you understand that, it makes a lot more sense why creating content is so important for your business. So I hope that motivates you a bit. So I said I'd keep it light and brief today, so that's really the overview of where it all fits. So now we'll move on to part 2, and we'll talk about upcycling your blog post content and making it travel as far as we possibly can to get as many eyeballs on it as possible. So, taking one of my blog posts for an example, I'm going to show you the different ways that I've used one blog post that I've written to upcycle into different places, different formats, different ways of getting the same message out there, and essentially different ways of funneling readers back to my website and to my call to action, to the offers that I've got available, because this is ultimately how I'm going to turn cold leads into warm leads. So here's the blog post, first of all, on my website, and this is really where I want most people to end up at the end of the day, because you read the blog post, you get to the bottom, and here's my call to action. So I've got a freebie that I give away. So we said before about how it's important to incentivize people to sign up, and then I've got the sign up box for them here. So there's a call to action in a blog post. I've got a little image, a little quote card that I made in here from the content of the blog post. So this is upcycling, essentially. I've taken the one thing that I've written and I've turned it into a different format here. I just do that on canva.com. If you haven't seen Canva before, go and check it out. It's at canva.com. It's my favourite sort of image creation tool. There's a good free version of it. You don't have to pay for the upgrade, and it's just lovely. It's so user friendly. You don't need to be using Adobe or anything fancy unless you really want to be. So yeah, do take the free options wherever you can. That's really important, of course, as a small business owner, to trim the budget wherever you can. So I made this on Canva. It didn't cost me a penny, and I've made good use of it. I've used it as another way to get my message out there on social media. So let me show you that first of all. So that quote card became an Instagram post for me. So here it is on Instagram, and it's a chunk from my blog post, so it's upcycled. It's not something new. I've just I've taken the one idea and I've turned it into different versions of the same sort of thing. And so here I've really short post, I've just gone right, because people will respond to that typically, as you can see they have, and then I've picked some relevant hashtags to post it with. Now with Instagram, you probably know that you can't put the link to your blog post or the link to whatever you want to show people in your comment, because, well, you can, but it won't link. The only link that you get on Instagram is one in your bio, unless you pay to advertise. Instagram is owned by Facebook now, so it is pay to play, just like Facebook. So a really good choice for your one URL that you get to use in your bio would be just your website address, because that's where your blog's hosted. So have a think about what's the best thing for you. If you're really focused on one particular offer right now and you've got a sales page, you might want to put a short, pretty link with that sales page in your bio for a while you're promoting it, but then after a while perhaps go back to your main website again. So that's upcycling number 1. I took that same quote card and added it to a photo album of mine on my Facebook page, and put a comment here and the link to the blog post, so that brings people back to read the blog post as well. I of course also shared the blog post as a traditional link post on my Facebook feed as well. The trick to getting people to read these things, to click through, is to write something compelling at the top. This is not my typical way of writing something compelling, actually. My most favourite trick is to ask a question. So if I'd written a blog post about procrastinating, I might ask a question in the text. I might say something like, do you find yourself cleaning the house and walking the dog when you should be writing your essay? Because psychologically, when you ask somebody a question, whether they actually verbally answer you or not, on some level their brain responds to it. It's just the way that our brains are wired. Humans are built for, interacting with other humans. So it's a little copywriting trick there. If ever you're stuck for how do I get people to click on my link, try asking a question. And also, it does work with comments as well. If you ask people for comments, you will definitely get more comments. So, for example, if I post something about procrastination and then I want people to comment on it so that I get more engagement on Facebook, I might finish my text with something like, I'm curious to know, what's the number one thing that you do when you're procrastinating? Tell me in the comments. So you'll get comments like, I walk the dog, I clean the house, I binge Netflix, so and that's really good for your reach on Facebook. But we're not talking social media in detail today, so just to show you, I'll upcycle my blog post into a couple of different formats on Facebook. So it's not restricted to just one post one time, then it's gone forever. Not at all. I'll share it and share it again, and I'll switch up the formats each time. So one time you're looking at a link post like this, another time you're looking at an image post like that. And then I will also do something like a Facebook Live and put the link to the blog post that inspired that Facebook Live in the comments. Also, I have a podcast that I put out on YouTube. So this was on a very similar topic, starting a business and how to survive. So I could, if I wanted to, put the details of where to find the related blog post. I have a different call to action as it goes here. But with that said, do always have a call to action, because the important thing is that content is content marketing for you as a business owner. It's lovely to produce lots of content, but make sure it's got a purpose to it as well. So you're not just giving to people without getting something back. At the end of the day, you need traffic to your website, because that's going to keep your business afloat. So yeah, that's one blog post that I've upcycled in a couple of different ways. And when I was looking at this post, I noticed that there was something I hadn't done that I often do. So I'd missed a trick here. Something I like to use a lot, and I've mentioned in other training, is LinkedIn's built-in publishing platform. So it used to be called LinkedIn Pulse. Now they just refer to it as articles, and it's not the same as posts. If you drop a URL into LinkedIn and share a post, that's redirecting people to somewhere else. So when I'm sharing things on different websites, for example, so this is something I wrote for WE Magazine, so I'm just linking to their website. But when I'm publishing an article on LinkedIn, I'm hosting it on LinkedIn's own publishing platform. Now, LinkedIn does, to some degree, want to keep you on LinkedIn, just like any other social media platform. They want to keep you using them. They don't want to be sending you away to other websites. So it stands to reason that if you publish on LinkedIn, that post is going to be favoured in their algorithm, and they're going to show it to more people. So if you want to get more eyeballs on your content, I highly advise using LinkedIn publishing. A bit of a side point, if you've heard that you need to be careful about not publishing duplicate content online, yes, that's still true, but there are ways around it. So when Google warns you not to post duplicate content, what they mean is don't write one blog post and publish it on your website and then publish it again on somebody else's website without referencing that it came originally from your website. It's really about referencing where your work is published, so that I think the aim of it really is to not let the internet get too spammy, because we're always concerned about quality. There's too much rubbish on the internet, there's too much in our inboxes, there's too much on social. Google's trying to do a good thing and keep our internet, decent, a good quality. So that's what the rule is there for. People have asked me before, does this apply to LinkedIn? And to the best of my knowledge, from all the advice that I've had from SEO experts, it doesn't matter if you share something you've published on your website and copy it onto LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is a social platform. It works a little bit differently than a website. So as far as Google is concerned, this is not considered duplicate content. Lots of big content sites like the Huffington Post and Thrive Global will happily republish on their site something you've originally published on your own website, as long as you reference that it originally came from your site, because that makes Google happy. So it's not as bad and scary as you think. It's perfectly okay for you to copy and paste your blog post into LinkedIn publishing and share it there. And that's something that I usually do, although I must say I failed on this occasion. But that's a good thing, because it means I get to show you guys how to do it. I'm going to quickly create a post here. So it means I can walk you through the process and show you how easy it is. So you do it on your home feed, and just like how if you wanted to share a link, you would drop it straight in here. Same box, but you go to the Write an Article button, and it'll open a new tab for you. And this is LinkedIn's article publishing platform, and it's super easy. So we're going to take this blog post that I originally wrote, and we're just going to copy it over. So I'm going to just grab the image that I put on my desktop earlier. There it is. LinkedIn's header images, they do tend to be very, very wide, so you need to find something panoramic that works, otherwise it will just be cropped horribly. So you do have to give a little bit of thought to your image. Luckily, that one's worked out for us. If it's from a site where you need to give it a credit, then do credit the photographer here. This one doesn't need to be. And then all I'm going to do, and it might surprise you how easy this is, I'm literally going to copy and paste. So I'm not writing anything new. I'm not doing any hard work here. In fact, this is barely even a 5-minute job. It's incredibly easy. And so I hope this pleases you to see that you can create an extra source of web traffic in 5 minutes. So I'm just going to copy this across. I wonder if it's going to bring that image with it, because it highlighted it. We'll see. No, it didn't. That's okay. So that's all the body of my blog post. Then if I wanted to, I could add any extra images, and then at the bottom I can pop in my call to action. So I might type in something such as come and find my blog post planner template, and then I can add the link. You can also, so you can put up a link in there so people can click through and sign up to your offer. You can also add an image if you wanted to. If you've got something on YouTube that's a relevant video, you can embed that and people can watch it within this blog post. They haven't got to leave LinkedIn. So that's absolutely fantastic. And then when we go to hit publish, it will ask you, say something about what your article is about and use hashtags to help others find it. So you just write, just like if you were sharing on Facebook, you'd write a little introduction, something compelling. What's this about? You might ask a question. Hey, does this apply to you? Are you someone that needs help with X, Y, or Z? Put a couple of hashtags in there. Don't go crazy. You don't need lots on LinkedIn. And then you hit publish, and that's literally all you do. So that's how easy it is to get your content in front of loads more eyeballs in 5 minutes. And this is what upcycling is all about. When you've put the time and effort into creating a well-written blog post, I think it's terribly sad that most people share that blog post once and then it pretty much just gathers dust and doesn't do anything. I don't think people understand that there are so many different ways to share it and so many different leads into it in different social media platforms using different formats, whether it's a Facebook Live video, whether it's a YouTube video that introduces the topic and then says, hey, come and read my blog post, or come and check out this free guide on my website, and brings people across to you. There are so many more ways than we realise to get people reading our content. And once we've got their attention, then we can present them with that call to action, and then our content marketing is effective. And what you're doing is you're reaching your cold audience. You're probably reaching more cold audience if you're using tips and different platforms and different formats that you weren't using before. And then you're warming some of those people up. The people who like it are going to read more from you, perhaps opt in and become warmer audience members. And then in turn, as they move down the marketing funnel, more of these people may one day become your customers. And of course, that's the end goal.